Seath the Scaleless. Now, this boss is one that in particular made me want to actually comment as I was going through my replays of my recent playthrough of Dark Souls 1, a playthrough that came right after finishing Shadow of the Earth. I decided, hey, let's finally play Dark Souls 1 and eventually hopefully 2 and 3. And I've been having a blast with it. Jank and all, I don't mind jank. I played games like Gothic 1 and 2, love them, love the atmosphere. I don't think I enjoy it as much as Elden Ring because I'm a sucker for build variety and that offers more. But anyway, on this boss in particular, first of all, let's begin with pointing out the obvious fact that after coming off of something like Consort Radahn, everything is gonna be pretty easy. Now, I saw this boss is often hated a lot, and I can totally see why. I mean, he fills your screen with ice and he knocks you back and you can't do anything. The archive but themselves, I actually found fun. It was kind of like another Raya Lucaria, obviously. And I really enjoyed this scenario where you're in a prison. And then you have to figure out what is happening. You see these creepy octopus-like tentacle guys running around, you kill them, and then you're curious to get back to Seath. So, my take on Seath, the more I looked at him, like, people have mixed thoughts on gimmicks. There are people who love gimmicks, and there are people who hate them. I think there can be a fine balance between them. And I understood this even better now after playing Dark Souls. And playing Dark Souls after Elden Ring and Shadow of the Earth, I feel can give you even a more unique perspective than if you'd play all the Souls games and you're a Souls vet, then play Elden Ring. Some people will say From has taken a wrong trajectory. Some people will say it's an improvement. I think I stand somewhere in the middle. Like, I think Elden Ring is the overall better game.
Now I see.
And while I think it has improved overall, there are things that I believe have been lost. For instance, obviously most of Elden Ring is a clear improvement versus some of the later areas. Like, this is not a very fun area, environmental wise. It's kind of a product of its time, and you can see the budget being stretched here. I also temper my expectation. I'm not gonna have expectation from FromSoft as I did with Elden Ring. And I always appreciate doing these walk to the past playthroughs. I did the same for Baldur's Gate 3 and I played the Original Sin 1 and 2. And I love them. It's nice to see what walked, so one of your favorite games of all time could run. Something like that. And that's the same principle I applied here. And it's pretty fascinating to me that while everything, the movesets and everything is simpler, sure there's less ways of skill expression, the spells are pretty basic. Ashes of War, you could say they don't exist, but they do exist in the form of some weapon attacks. They just replace a heavy attack with a lightning spear or something like that. The bosses are almost simple, but after you beat Consort Radahn, you'll probably beat all these either first try or 3-5 tries. There was a single one that gave me about an hour struggle because I was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. And that was Ceaseless Discharge. It was so clunky. I'm holding the shield and sometimes it blocks, sometimes it doesn't. I try holding it at different angles. I tried dodging his moves a lot. Sometimes his blows landed through a big mountain and I was like, oh. But most of the bosses were fine. And now I look at Seath here, who's a, you could say a gimmick boss. It's not exactly the most fun gimmick, and this here's me being an idiot not realizing the gimmick. But I am not against these gimmicks. You see, I actually think there's power in gimmicks in making bosses feel unique, like this Death Blight build-up or whatever it's called, Curse. Add something unique to him. Now personally, I wouldn't want the fight to be all about the gimmick. So my ideal world is that From in future will consider to make bosses, like, let them have a gimmick unique to them, because there's other ways to make difficulties. You don't need to overtune everything to attack, do 10-15 combos with flashing blinding light like Consort Radan. And I say this as someone who still found the fight satisfying at the end after I learned it. While learning it, it was a bit annoying. Now, refinement is not the name of the game here. Your screen is covered with a bunch of ice spike, you can't see anything, it's chaotic. Then he sits there like an idiot. You can just buff, then you slide off him and you wonder what is even happening. So obviously, yeah, there's tons of refinement to be had. However, I think there's some appreciation to be had in gimmicks like this, and I normally wonder, what if they add gimmick in a more refined form? And yeah, just my thoughts on this.